Never thought I'd have to do a video about defending Twitter. But here we are. Today, representatives of Twitter India will have to appear before the Parliamentary Committee on Information Technology. The chairman of the committee, BJP MP Anurag Thakur, explained that it is looking into the safeguarding of citizens' rights on social/online news media platforms. But why right now? And which rights exactly of which citizens is the committee worried about? The BJP seems to be worried that its supporters' Twitter accounts are getting suspended because of exactly the kind of content it's been encouraging them to spread online. So about 2 weeks ago, Twitter began to face a backlash from users on the far right for suspending or handicapping accounts that violated its community standards. One group held a protest in front of Twitter's Delhi office, and one lawyer even got to meet India's Home Minister, Rajnath Singh, to present him with a letter protesting the discriminatory and unfair targeting of quote-unquote nationalist accounts that do not subscribe to or support a leftist ideology. The letter accused Twitter of electoral interference, which constitutes a national security threat. But according to Twitter, this is nonsense. In its reply, it said, "We believe in impartiality and do not make decisions on the basis of political views or beliefs. We have a specialized global team that enforces the Twitter rules. Twitter India employees do not make enforcement decisions." But as the national election comes closer, the government seems to be siding with the protesters and putting pressure on Twitter to not enforce its rules the way it chooses. And this is a problem, because in many ways Twitter is the newspaper of the 21st century. Today, more and more people get their news not directly from newspapers, but on social media. Platforms like Twitter are news outlets where people can select their own sources and publish their own opinions. But these platforms do enforce some limits, which are usually known as community standards. Twitter's rules or community standards are something like a newspaper's editorial line. Newspapers have editors who decide what gets published. Twitter rules only decide what cannot be published, which includes abuse, threats of violence, hate speech, and other kinds of malicious information. There are many serious flaws in this design, just as there are in the design of traditional media. Nobody on Twitter, regardless of their politics, is satisfied with the way it works. It's common for social media companies to engage with the IT ministry about how to enforce rules better. But the Indian government has never intervened this way to put pressure on Twitter to stop enforcing its rules. Until possibly today. What about freedom of speech? Very basically, freedom of speech is a constitutional right that Indian citizens can exercise against the government. If the editors at the Indian Express don't want to publish your opinion piece, it's not a violation of your fundamental rights, and the government can't force them to do that. Similarly, nobody has a constitutional right to tweet anything they want. But during the last national election and ever since, the BJP has promoted accounts and websites that are abusive, that spread false information, and do sometimes encourage violence. Many have been followed by the Prime Minister himself. With a new election approaching, this hearing looks like a way for the government to put pressure on Twitter to reopen those gates so those users can get back to work. What's funny is, by pulling up Twitter for enforcing its own guidelines, the ruling party is basically admitting how much it relies on malicious users on social media. What's less funny is that if the government does pull up Twitter, it will be interfering with the newspaper of the 21st century, forcing it to publish toxic content. And that is something our constitution does not allow.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.